Today, Trump stated that any country trafficking drugs to the United States could be attacked.
In an act of desperation and fear, the current president of Brazil called Donald Trump directly, fearing that the narco-terrorists operating in national territory will be the next target of United States military attacks. Official statement from the United States government that it intends to attack all traffickers who send drugs to the country. It put the Palácio do Planalto on alert, and the Brazilian president's call was marked by a tone of urgency and concern. The current president of Brazil sought support to confront the criminal factions that control strategic areas of the country. But many believe that the request for support was more to prevent Brazilian vessels from being bombed off the coast, as already seen in Venezuela. There are fears that Brazilian waters will face the same fate as vessels tied to Nicolas Maduro's regime. In this video, we will analyze what is behind the connection between the two presidents and whether, in fact, the Trump administration will attack Brazilian vessels that transport drugs. Welcome to Life in the Barracks. In Venezuela, the United States Southern Command has carried out frequent attacks against vessels suspected of transporting drugs, using fighter jets, attack helicopters, surveillance drones, and warships equipped with precision missiles. Over 80 criminals have been neutralized in major operations. This made the Brazilian president realize the Brazilian coast is in Trump's sights.
In the last 2 years, federal police officers, with the support of the Navy, have seized more than 9 tons of drugs on the high seas. The largest seizure was made this year, more than 3 tons at once.
Brazil's coast is used by international cartels, and if the United States acts, Brazilian ships could be destroyed before reaching ports. The mega operation in Rio de Janeiro, which recently neutralized more than 120 criminals, caught the attention of the Americans. After the success of the operation, the United States made themselves available to the state of Rio to provide logistical and military support, something that caused discomfort for the federal government. The Palácio do Planalto saw this approach as a political threat.
President Lula even described the operation as a massacre and raised the possibility of a parallel investigation. How did you react to President Lula's statement?
I have taken a stance of not commenting on the statements of either the president or his ministers.
The strengthening of the governor of Rio, along with international support, could further undermine the Brazilian people's confidence in the president. Officially, the call to Trump was supposed to address the 40% tariff on some Brazilian products imposed by the Americans. But given Trump's recent statements, the president took the opportunity to ask for support in fighting criminal factions. Experts believe that the request was not just for help, but rather an attempt to prevent the same bombings happening in Venezuela from being repeated in Brazil. The concern is real and reflects a fear that Brazilian vessels could become targets. On social media, many Brazilians have supported the idea of an American intervention in the country, believing that only external forces could confront the power of the factions and systemic corruption. The United States has intensified attacks against suspicious vessels around Venezuela, using P-8 Poseidon aircraft Seahawk helicopters and MQ-9 Reaper drones, which are capable of identifying and attacking moving targets at long range. On the Brazilian coast, similar equipment could be used to strengthen the fight against international trafficking. Routes used by cartels operating in the South Atlantic would be monitored and intercepted before reaching the ports. The presence of anti-torpedo ships and maritime patrol aircraft would be strategic to prevent Brazil from continuing to be a route for drug entry and exit. Brazilians can no longer tolerate being hostage to crime. Flawed legislation and impunity fuel the power of the factions, which expand without control. The arrival of the Southern Command on the Brazilian coast could represent a drastic change, not only against organized crime, but also against the corruption that corrodes the institutions. The Trump administration has shown it can boost cooperation with Brazil, citing its actions in Venezuela as an example, against Nicolas Maduro and against cartels like the Los Soles cartel and the Aragua train. This partnership could involve joint intelligence operations, specialized training for Brazilian forces, and sharing strategic information about trafficking routes and international connections. With the experience gained in Venezuela, the Southern Command would be able to support Brazil in dismantling criminal networks that cross borders, strengthening regional security. Brazilian security's future may rely on this global cooperation. The pressure is mounting, and the Brazilian president knows that any mistake could cost him and his allies dearly. Leave a comment below if you believe that the arrival of the Southern Command on the Brazilian coast could impact the crime that plagues Brazil. And does the current Brazilian president really intend to fight crime?